Morning. Welcome to some yoga Pilates fusion. So we're going to take a moment to lie down. And you can just lie down if you like, or you can add something underneath your back like I'm going to do. I'm going to roll this blanket up and put it down the length of my spine. Well, most of it. Stop about the bottom of my rib cage, generally speaking. If the object that you're using under your back is a little thicker, you might want it to stay up higher, like even under just the shoulder blades. Oh. So you can experiment with where that goes so that there's no discomfort in the lower back. Now, I've got that centered pretty well in between my shoulder blades, and I'm just going to let my shoulders relax, open into the space that I've created. And I'm going to spend some time trying to let the rib cage move with the breath. And centering them in my mind and just letting go of the rest of the stuff I have on my agenda for the day. It's easy for me to want to skip ahead in my mind and think about the stuff that I'm going to do later. But for now, we're going to try to stay focused just on the practice we're doing. Two more breaths. Feet to the floor and then just roll myself over to the side so I can slip that blanket out from underneath my back. And then take a moment, you can pull the knees into your chest and do a little back massage that way. I'm just starting with these little windshield wiper moves with the legs. That feels really nice. Just kind of noticing where that impression that was left behind by the blanket sort of comes to rest. So we'll bring the feet to the floor. We're going to take the right ankle, just put it up on top of the left thigh. And then we'll take the legs over one side and then the other. Now, just as far as it makes sense to go, there might be some sensations in the outer hip or in the lower back. It might be that your thigh will wind up touching the floor and then your foot will touch the floor on the other side, or it could stop short of that. This move sometimes drags me down my mat, so I might readjust as we go along here. Do one more of those. And then coming back to the center, we're going to do some rolling bridges if we can. So I'm going to take my hips up and then roll down. Sometimes my left hamstrings have other ideas about life. So in between rounds, I might have to shake them out. Lifting up and rolling down. One more of those. Lifting up and rolling down. And then keeping the ankle up on top. I'm going to lift the legs up off the floor. You can leave them on the ground if you like. Bring the hands behind the head. And we're just going to curl in straight up and down for now. Try to keep your head pressed into your hands. So we're using the abdominal muscles to do the curl and not the neck muscles. And then we're going to take the left elbow over towards that right knee. One more of those. Coming back, we'll switch which leg is up on top. Do the little back and forth wobble. Noticing if there's a difference in the range of motion. Is one hip a little different than the other? All right, so we'll do one more of those. And then come back to the center. Again, we'll do some little rolling bridges with this one foot. So we'll lift up and roll it back down. And lift up. Down, I'm trying to come down as slow as I can given the circumstances. And then one more time, lifting up and rolling down. We'll leave the legs or pick them up, hands behind the head, and once again we're just going to start with some curls, keeping the head pressing back, just flexing the spine, using the abs to curl up. One more of those. And then we'll take that right elbow towards the left knee. And one more of those. And we'll float the legs back down. Give ourselves a nice big stretch. We're going to do a little banana shape. So I'm just starting with just my waist. I'm bending over to the right, and if that feels okay, and I just swing the legs over as well. You can take the left ankle and cross it over the right ankle if you like. Sometimes I do. Sometimes not as much. You can bend at the elbow if you like, so the shoulders rest a little more comfortably on the floor. Going to take a few breaths here, letting that left side stretch out. As long as the right side doesn't feel like it's in trouble, we'll just relax into this. One more breath. We're going to come back to the middle. See if anything happened. Like for me, my left leg feels just a little bit longer now. So I'm going to give myself a little in-between movement. Just to rinse out any tension from my sacrum area. And then one more time, I'm going to stretch out. And this time I'm going to kind of side bend to my left, and then maybe that right ankle crosses over the left ankle if you like that way better. You can swing the legs a little more or a little less. You can adjust the arms according to what's best for your shoulders. Just as a reminder, it might be different on one side than the other. And we're just going to let that right side stretch out as we let the body kind of sink into the floor a little bit. And breathe. 2 more breaths here. And we'll make our way back to the center and see if we're more of even length. Bringing your knees in. You can give yourself a little back massage. Now, we're going to bring the hands behind the head. We're going to shoot the left leg out, keep the right leg in, and then we'll curl up towards that right knee. 1, 2, 3. Coming back to the center before we switch. We're just going to curl up right down the middle. Switch legs. 1, 2, 3. And then curl in. All right, switch, curl, 2, 3. And straight up the middle. And 1, 2, 3. Straight up the middle. Switch, 1, 2, 3. Straight down the middle. Switch, 1, 2, 3. Straight down the middle. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Straight down the middle. Switch legs. 1, 2, 3. Straight down the middle. All right, bringing the knees in. We're gonna curl up like a little ball. Now you can reach down towards your ankles or leave the hands behind your head. You can just extend the legs and bring them back in, or extend the legs and the arms and bring them back. Extend them out, bring them back. Try to maintain that curl, that flexion in your spine. Two more of those. Now you can keep your hands behind your head and leave your head elevated, or put your head back down, put your hands down by your hips. We're going to extend through the legs, lower them for 4, 3, 2, 1. When we get here, we're going to shift one leg on top and then the other, bring them together and come back. Lower, 4, 3, 2, 1, right leg, left leg, and back. 4, 3, 2, 1, left leg, right leg, and back. 4, 3, 2, 1, right leg, left leg, and back. 4, 3, 2, 1, left leg, right leg, and back. All right. Release your legs. Give yourself a stretch or a little back massage or some windshield wipers or a little bit of all of that. So, we're going to do some roll up. You can just roll up a little bit and divide this in half, or you can roll all the way up to sitting and stretch over your legs. Trying to evenly work with the abdominal muscles. Try to use as best we can the abs more than the hip flexors. Although eventually we will have to rely on those hip flexors a little bit. I'm going to do one more little half curl. And then I'm coming all the way up to do the second half of this. Stretching over the legs and rolling part of the way down. And stretching over the legs. So if you're doing your full roll up, I'm going to do 3 more of these. And that might be 2 roll ups. In either case, we're going to wind up sitting up. So the next time you come up to lean over your legs, come back up and stay seated. That's where we're going to land and catch up with each other. So we're going to have the legs pretty wide, wider than the hips, maybe about as wide as the edges of the yoga mat. You can bend your knees more or leave the legs a little straighter. You can sit up on a pillow or a folded blanket. So you want your spine to feel like it's nice and tall. The pelvis doesn't lean backwards. So that may take either bending the knees or sitting up a little higher. So we're gonna do just the twist to start with. 2, 3, we wanna keep the shoulders, the arms just in a neutral position. We're just using them for additional challenge. There's a tendency to wanna twist from the arms. So we're just turning from the waist. 2, 3, coming back. 1, 2, 3. Sit up nice and tall in between. Coming back. 1, 2, 3. One more time of those. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then last, the saw is going to kind of take us into some familiar territory. 2, 3. Kind of repeating some movements and shapes from earlier, just with gravity in a different relationship. 1, 2, 3. Sit up nice and tall. Turn, fold from your hip. 2, 3. Coming back one more time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to come up to all fours. And we'll give ourselves a few moments just to explore that. You can tuck and tilt the pelvis. You can move the shoulder blades around. The spine kind of moves in between all of those points. And then you can decide how much movement you're going to get. You can do some little sideways movements, make some sort of kind of almost barrel roll circles with your rib cage or your pelvis. You can either sink your hips back towards a child's pose or leave them a little more forward. We're going to take the right arm, thread it underneath the left. Now, once I'm here, I'm going to just reach through that right arm just a little bit more, come back down. You can take your left arm over your back. You can use it as a pillow. I like to gently sort of press myself backward towards my hips. And you can take this left leg, tuck the toes, straighten that leg and kind of press yourself a little bit more around towards that right shoulder. Make sure there's no weight in your head or neck that feels uncomfortable there. One more breath. And we're going to turn this into a spinal balance. I'm going to take my left hand to the floor, right arm out, and then left leg out. Curl in, stretch out, curl it in, stretch it out. One more time, curl it in, stretch it out, reach a little longer, and then we'll bring that left leg all the way forward for a lunge. Now you could add on to your lunge by twisting or reaching back to hold your foot in either direction. Just tucked my toes under, give myself a little stretch that way. You can go out of the lunge and back in, or you can just find one spot. I'm going to add a little bit of a side bend to my lunge here, but just mild. Coming back around to that sort of banana shape we made on the floor. One more breath with the lunge. And then as I exhale, I'm going to come out of the side bend and straighten out my front leg and then fold over it. You can slide the foot forward farther if you want to add a little more onto that. Bringing both hands over to the inside here. I'm going to take that left leg, give it a little shake back, and then coming back to all fours, I'm going to do a couple rounds of cat, just to see if things have shifted or changed. going to take my left arm and thread it under. Again, make some adjustments as I go along here. You could, again, sort of straighten out the right leg if you want to kind of tilt yourself a little more towards the shoulders, being careful with the weight on your neck. For me, it's a deeper twist if I keep the knee down, but sometimes I like that straight leg. We're going to take 2 more breaths. All right, so putting the right hand on the floor, we're going to take that left arm out and then the right leg for spinal balance. And then curl in and stretch out and curl it in and stretch it out. One more time, curl it in, stretch it out, and then we'll bring that right leg forward this time for the lunge. And again, you can choose your lunge options based on how it feels. How's it going out there, yogis? Oh. Usually my left side is my more gentle side, but whoo, today it's spicy. I'm going to add this side bend, but I might not go as far on this side. And again, that's just an option I'm choosing. You can choose it to do it or skip it, depending on how it feels to you. Wobblier on this side. We'll see how that goes when we get to balancing. Take 2 more breaths. So I'm going to inhale my way out. Oh, exhale and straighten out my leg and then fold over it. And again, based on how you and your hamstrings are getting along, that might be enough. You might add some blocks. Your leg might go forward a bit. Or not. Taking some nice deep breaths. All right, I'm going to bring both hands over. I'm going to take that right leg back, give it a little shake. And then coming back to a few rounds of cat, I'm going to go into downward dog next. So when you're ready, you can head into downward dog. And again, if you and dog are buds, you like downward dog as a pose, you can stay with it for a little while. Walk in place, give your hips a little movement. But if it's not a friendly pose, then just use it to get onto your feet. Oh. Some mornings it's not friendly at first, and then eventually it gets friendly for me. What? We're going to catch up with each other in a standing mountain pose. So I've walked myself into a forward bend, and I'm going to come in and out of that a couple times. Kind of playing with straight leg versus bent knees. Feels like a good idea and you're ready to do your mountain pose, then you'll find your way to that. And once there, take a few moments to sort of assess how mountain pose feels this morning. depending on what you've been up to, it might feel really balanced and light, or maybe I have tight calf muscles, and often it feels sort of like they want to push me forward until I've given them more of a chance to loosen up. Sometimes one of my shoulders feels a little different from the way that I slept on my side or something like that. So just notice what's there for you to notice. Find the most balanced posture you can so that you've got that kind of baseline to measure the others, the rest of the poses from. And then we're going to take a nice big breath, lift the arms up. Oh, maybe there's a little baby back bend there. Coming back tall, grab the right wrist, give yourself a stretch over to the left. Now, a little bit more weight on that right leg and a little longer with the body. Coming back to center, we're going to take the left leg up off the floor and balance in some kind of a pose. You get to pick. I'm doing a tree because it's my favorite. So we're going to turn whatever it is that was our favorite into a warrior 3 if we can. Now your arms can be out to the sides or overhead or along beside you. We start to fall, catch. And then we're going to step ourselves back, and we're going to try to find a warrior 1 position. So I start with the high lunge, and then I bring my heel to the ground. And wherever that lands, that's the way my hip faces. And then I've got my rib cage pointing forward for now. And then in a moment, I'm going to point it more on the diagonal with the hip so we can do some spine stretch. Now you may want to spine stretch over the front thigh so you keep your rib cage pointing forward. And we're going to roll ourselves up. Take that warrior 1 shape. And then spine stretch forward. Try to lengthen out through your back. Roll yourself up. Try to start at the base. See if you can feel each vertebrae kind of come up one on top of the next. And we'll do one more of those. Rolling ourselves up. And then we're going to straighten out the front leg and fold over it. Now, you can adjust the legs so that everything kind of points a little more forward. Sometimes I like the way that feels. Sometimes I like it better if that back foot's turned out a bit more. What's the right amount of forward bending? Is it a little better to stay higher with the torso? Or to bend it all the way over, try to touch your forehead to your shin. You may or may not go there, but we could certainly try. Oh. Try to find just the right amount of stretch in the back of my thigh, and then just stay. And then I've got calf muscles on the other leg that are stretching out quite a bit. So we'll take one more breath here. And then leaning into this, we're going to put the hands on the floor and step back to downward dog. Now, you can hold downward dog or come forward for a plank. Lower down, come into a cobra, or if you prefer, an upward dog. And then take yourself back in through downward dog. Take that right leg up, give that right ankle some little turns in both directions. Oh. And then we're going to step the right foot forward. Now, it doesn't matter how far it got. We're going to put all the weight there and pick up the left leg. And see if we can balance one more time in a standing splits. When you're ready, put both hands and then the left foot on the ground and come up halfway. And fold. We'll come all the way to standing. Give ourselves a big stretch. And then a mountain pose. We just did a bunch of stuff on one side. We haven't done on the other side yet. See if you can feel the difference. Let's do the other side. Nice big breath. Stretch, maybe a little baby back bend. Coming back, we're going to grab hold of the right wrist. No, left wrist. Give ourselves a stretch to the right. Put all the weight in that left leg. And lean into it a little bit. Oh, as you come back to center, putting the weight on the left leg still, we'll pick the right leg up for whatever balancing pose we liked. And then we're going to turn that balancing pose into a warrior three, if we can do it without falling over. And then that warrior three is going to turn into a warrior one eventually. And then we'll spine stretch forward, reaching out, trying to make the spine longer. And then rolling ourselves up. Ooh. Might need a little wider base. Let's feel it a little wobbly. And then spine stretch forward. Oh. And roll it up. Warrior one. And then one more time with that spine stretch. And roll it up. And again, once we get to the top, straighten out the front leg and fold over it. Using whatever props seem appropriate. They feel good to use. Maybe making little adjustments to the way the hips are aligned, or how we've got the back foot angled, how much we're folding in versus lifting up. I like to press my big toe and my pinky toe into the floor on both feet, just for a little more rooted, grounded feeling. Here. All right, we're going to bend that front knee, get everything a little softer, and then we'll step back to down dog. And again, you could just hold the dog or add in the rest of the sun salutation as you see fit. Once we're back to down dog, we're going to join up together. Left leg up in a three-legged dog. Give that left ankle some turns in both directions. Oh, and then we'll step that foot forward. And again, we're going to get the weight on this leg, so we might have to back up a little bit to launch ourselves into our standing splits. We might need that knee to be bent a little bit. See if we can reach up through that top leg. Maybe no hands for half a second. Both hands and both feet to the floor. And coming up halfway. Fold in. And then all the way to standing. Oh. Sunlight's making an appearance. I might look a little ethereal on the camera. And I feel a little ethereal from all that work. So find a mountain pose. Take a moment. Just notice that mountain. See if there's any differences between it and the first one we did. Now we're going to take a big breath, reach up. We're going to come to a chair pose. Bring the hands to the heart, and we'll twist around to our right. Now you can deepen the twist. Try to bring your elbow around. I like to keep my hips as steady as possible and just try to twist my upper back a little bit more. It's really just a choice. Choose appropriately for you. And one more breath. Oh, and we're coming back to the center. We're going to fold forward and then come up halfway. And then from that halfway mark, we're going to pick this left leg up. And sort of like we're coming back to that warrior three, but we're going to let that foot land and we'll turn this into a wide angle forward bend. Okay. Once you're there, with the feet fold forward, if you need to make any adjustments, you can do that there. So we'll come up about halfway. Lengthen out, stand strong in the legs, and then let yourself fold in however much is appropriate. And then we'll come up halfway and fold in. And once again, coming up halfway. Now I'm gonna turn my right toes all the way to the right, and I'll adjust my left foot in, and I'm gonna walk my hands over and straighten out my legs. So I'm not quite in a triangle yet, but this is gonna turn into a triangle. So I'm gonna lift up. I'm gonna use a block, but you could use your shin or float your hand instead. Once I'm up, I'm gonna rotate my rib cage to find that triangle pose. Bending the knee, I'm going to come to a side angle pose, and I often have to make a little adjustment to make that a little longer. Oh, and then I'll add the mermaid in, come into reverse warrior and side angle, trying to hold steady through the legs. Oh, stretching through the side waist on both sides, one more of those. Oh. Straightening out my front leg, I'm going to turn my feet again and come back to my wide angle forward bend. I can feel differences now on the sides of my waist and on my hips. Folding in, coming up halfway, and folding in. Morning nutmeg. Coming up halfway, and folding in. And from this folded in position, I'm going to turn my left foot all the way around. It's going to face the back of the mat. I'm going to adjust my right leg. Keeping my legs straight for now, I'm just folding over that space. And then I'm going to slowly turn this into a triangle by kind of lifting up, rotating my ribs open, or out to the side anyway. And then finding that triangle pose. Again, you might want to come up a little higher, go down a little lower. It's up to you. Couple more breaths. All right, I'm going to bend my knee, come to a side angle. And then I'm going to turn this into my mermaid, come into reverse and side angle. Nice long stretches. All right, I'm going to come back, straight legs, turning the toes in for a wide angle forward bend one last time, and we'll see if anything has changed. Oh, it feels nice. All right, so we're gonna try to go back through our warrior three. So to get there, I'm going to bring my left foot up to the top of the mat, pick my right foot up, and see if I can find the balance. Might need the blocks today. I'm going to put my right foot on the ground, turn that into a chair pose. And add a twist over to my left. Two more breaths there. Turn back to the center, folding forward, and then all the way up to standing. Oh. Now, giving myself a little shake. and finding my mountain pose and seeing, ooh, has anything changed? Lots has changed since the beginning anyway. All right, take a big breath, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up halfway. So we're gonna step back to down dog, and you can throw in a little extra sun salutation there, or just hold your dog for a moment. Now, once you're back to dog, we're gonna take this right foot up and then bring that knee forward and find our way into a pigeon. Now, if the pigeon pose is not the right pose, you can switch it with a reclining pose where you lay on your back, or do a seated pose where you put one leg on top of the other. So in this case, the right leg would be up on top. Now the pigeon could be a back bend. You can reach back for your foot. You can add a twist, go in the other direction, or you can sort of fold in towards the ground. It really depends on how you want to do it and how it feels. The lower I get to the ground, the more I feel it in my front leg, hip. The more elevated I stay, the more I feel it in my hip flexor on the other side. So I like to try to find a place right in the middle where I have a little bit of both. So reaching back through my left leg, keeping that a little long. Stay here for about 5 more breaths. Now I'm going to bring this left leg around. So I'm going to lean a little towards the right side and take my left leg, bring that all the way up front. Now I'm going to leave the knee up, but I'm not going to wrap the leg around because that causes trouble, but you might. And then we're going to twist to the left, stay nice and tall. And my lumbar spine is only going to give me so much twist, so I don't want to try to overdo that. But what I do want to do is play with my shoulders. So I'm going to take my right shoulder blade and try to protract it, take it to the right. I'm going to take my left shoulder blade and try to draw that into the center so that I add a little bit onto that upper back. And I'm using this pressure that I can use with my leg here, kind of pushing my hand into it and pushing my leg into my hand to help me move that shoulder blade out. And 2 more breaths. And I'm going to come out of the twist. Now this left leg is going to go out straight in front, and I'm going to fold over it. And how much I fold may depend on how it feels. I'm going to add a little blanket to the back of that knee. That's much better. So I'm lengthening out my spine, seeing how far my pelvis wants to come forward. Once I start to feel things in the chain, either my knee or my low back or something telling me that that's more than it wants, I back off. I'm trying to find the spot before I hit the no more back off spot. Some people may want to let their back round a little bit. That also feels nice to me, but not to everybody. We're going to turn this into a side bend, so I'm just going to roll my rib cage around, kind of like I did with the triangle pose, and add a little side bend here. way up. I'm going to shake out both my legs. And I'm going to lie down on my left side so that I'm working the same right hip that I had in the pigeon shape. So we're going to do the little clam. So I'm going to bring my feet behind me, lift them up. And there's a tendency initially for my hip to want to fold forward with my legs. So I just have to double check that I've got my hip lined up nice and easy on the other hip, and that the legs are kind of hanging out without drawing my hip forward. We're going to open, extend, bring the toes together, bring the knees together. And try to hug in a bit through the sides of the waist. We'll do 3 more of these. And there's the last one. Now, bringing the legs back out to straight, I'm going to take this leg off the top, bring it up front. You can have that leg out straight instead of putting the foot on the ground like I've got going on. And then the left leg I'm lifting up, and I'm going to pulse that up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bringing that leg down, I'm going to come back onto my back. I'm taking this right leg straight up, and the left leg, I can put the foot on the ground, I can let it rest straight, or I can hover it up a little bit. I'm going to put my hands behind my head, but you could also lift your arms up. Let's keep them lined up. We're taking this left elbow up towards that right big toe. Lift. So reach into the legs, curl. 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 We'll do 3 more. Head's pressing back into the hands. All that work done with the abdominal muscles. All right. Now I'm going to give myself a little rinse out here. And then I'm going to come around and we'll do that whole thing again on the other side. So, I'm going to take myself into downward dog. You can do a downward dog or a sun salutation rather. You want to add on to that. Oh. That is up to you. When you're ready, you'll just bring that left knee to the ground or do whatever version of the pigeon you did earlier, but on this side. Reaching back through my right foot. I think this it might get bitten. Little vampire. Tiny furry vampires. Stay a while. About 3 more breaths. Okay, I'm going to bring my right leg around and put that guy up on top for our twist. So again, I'm organizing it according to the parameters that work best for me. Do the same for you. In this case now, I'm going to take my left shoulder blade and kind of work with the resistance here on my leg to protract this left shoulder blade as far out as I can. And I'm going to take the right shoulder blade and kind of hug that into the midline. Retract it, as it were. One more big breath. And then I'm going to come around. That right leg is going out straight. And I'm folding over this right leg. Again, just make whatever appropriate parameters there are so that you've got the right amount of stretch in your low back and your hamstrings, wherever other places you might feel it in your glute. So many possibilities. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Unwind it. Come on up, give myself a little shake out. And then I'm laying on my right side for the little side work. All right. So I'm gonna get my hips steady and bring myself into the little clam position. And then we'll add the little movement pattern, open and kick out. And again, if for any reason on a given day your knee does not love the extension, just hold and hover in the up position there. And we'll do 4 more. And 2 more. All right, straighten out my legs, bring that left leg over, reach through the right leg, lift it, and then I'm pulsing it up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to roll onto my back. And this left leg is going straight up. Right leg is reaching out. I'm taking that right elbow up towards that left pinky toe. Again, pressing my head back so I have to do all that work from my abdominal muscles. 3 more. Last one. Bringing the legs down. We're going to give ourselves a little windshield wipers or happy baby, because it's time for a relaxation, friends. So what would be the thing that would make your body the happiest about relaxing? Do that thing. Maybe you need to put socks on. Maybe add a pillow under your legs or a blanket over the top. Or all of the above. And then as you're ready, stretch yourself out. Let your whole body relax. your body will let you relax any deeper. Unwind the little area right between your eyebrows. Just got a bit longer, but can we let go of another layer so we can start our day out in a little while fresh. As free of tension as possible. When you're ready, notice your breath again. Go away, tiny vampire. Take a breath so deep you could feel it all the way down to your toes. Let go with a big start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch them out, wiggle them again. Stretch them out. Give your wrist and ankles a little movement. Give your whole body a stretch. Oh, from fingertips to toe tips. Oh, and then when you're ready, you can curl into a ball. And we'll eventually come to a seated position. And say goodbye to each other. Oh, from there. Thank you for joining me for some yoga Pilates fusion. Let's take a nice big breath together. And a big deep sigh to go into our day. Welcome to your new relaxed self. Namaste. Have a great day, everyone.